And when I saw the rocket engines come back, I said, what is that? Like a couple of years ago, you never seen rockets go up and then they crash into the water. And I see the engines are coming back and they're landing.
It's unbelievable.
They're landing and they land on a raft in the middle of the ocean someplace with a little dot, and they land right on the top of the spot.
And my wife can't parallel park.
I know. It's most people can't. But no, he's great. But he's got a great heart. He was with me, as you know, on the other night.
Yeah.
And we were honoring a man who got killed at a rally, Corey, firefighter, great guy. And it was a beautiful evening. But Elon went out and he loved the crowd. He loves the country.
Yeah.
And he's picked a side. A lot of people don't want to pick a side. I have a lot of people that are big supporters of me.
Yeah.
But they won't go all out. You know, they can't.
They're scared.
Quite,
There's a
scared.
cost.
Yeah. There's a cost.
Yeah.
There is a cost, but there's also a liability. I mean, you know, some people expected a lot when this guy was up there doing jumping jacks. You got to vote for Trump. You got to vote.
He was jumping high.
Yeah. He was jumping high.
He looked quite African.
When he jumped, he's in good shape. I'm looking at his waist. I'm saying, wait a minute, does he work out or something? But he really, and he had a great time. And you know, he's not out that much. He's probably maybe a little. Would you say he's a little reclusive? Possibly.
Yeah. He's also busy. He's got like 5 different
he's very busy and maybe a little reclusive.
Yeah.
But he had the greatest time. He was saying, "Look at these people." We had 100,000, more than 100,000 people.
That's awesome.
It was a record. It was nobody's ever seen, and it was really. It was a celebration of a life, and it was really a MAGA. It was a MAGA deal.
Yeah.
He was a big MAGA person. His family was there, and 2 other people that were very badly hurt were also celebrated. They were very badly hurt. They weren't actually expected to live.
Yeah.
And they lived, and they had incredible doctors. Some of those country doctors are better than the big doctors that we spend a lot of money on, and they don't do as good. I will tell you right now. I don't want to knock anybody, but those country doctors saved 2 people, because I was told that 3 would. No, think of that. 3 would be in trouble, and 3 were going to, now Corey immediately, but the other 2 were so bad that they thought they wouldn't make it.
Yeah.
And those country doctors, they pulled them together. They did a great job.
Okay, so you're going back into this place where, you know, there was this assassination attempt. They hit you, headshot. You survive.
Yeah. It was not a good feeling.
Yeah. Are you scared?
Better, by the way.
No, I'm not scared. You know, I have an attitude. It's interesting. It's sort of, it is what it is. Does that make any sense to you guys? You know, you do what you have to do. I felt it was important to go back. A lot of people, I guess, agreed with me, because it was over 100. I think they said 108,000 people in the end. That's a lot of people.
Super Bowl.
And I had no guitar. You know, if you have a guitar, it's easy. When you don't have a guitar.
I thought you said Qatar.
I have guitar. I do have that. They like me very much. But I don't have a guitar.
Yeah, you have the guitar. Yeah.
So anyway, but that was it was amazing. I mean, no, I like it when somebody like Elon, who has a lot to lose, is willing to do what's right.
Yeah.
Some people know it's right to do, and I'm not just talking about endorsements and all, but they don't want to do things because they're
they don't want it to cost them opportunities.
The word is they want to be politically correct, and actually they're doing a bad thing. I think for themselves and for a lot of people they may represent.
Okay, opening line when you walk out there.
So,
I mean,
I was wondering what you were going to say, and as a comedian, you can seize the moment.
Yeah,
and
he was a hell of a comedian, by the way.
I appreciate that.
What the word is.
So I hear you go. I see the video, and you go up there and you go, as I was saying.
Right.
Crowd goes fucking berserk, or what?
They went, I would say, crazy.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure.
Biggest experience.
Yeah, I'll tell you how. You have this as a comedian, or even not as a comedian. Just when you make a speech, or you make some very serious statement.
Yeah.
So we're at a very serious and somber thing
event,
because we're celebrating a life that is no longer with us. And I wasn't sure whether or not that thing, I had it in my mind for a long time. Once I said I'm going back, which I wanted to go back immediately, I wanted to actually finish my speech, okay? When I got up,
there you go. There's a poll for you guys. Trump, yes or no? Let's go.
But I'm surrounded by like 8 very large, strong men and a very wonderful woman. You saw that.
Yeah, you like the video. Trump, yes or no? Follow me for more content, guys.
No way to go. and I have blood pouring down, but I really wanted to finish my speech. I said, I think I had like 50,000. I had a lot of people there.
Yeah.
And, when I went down, it was sort of like embarrassed. I said, I went down in front of all these people. That was my first thing. I don't want to be embarrassed.
You were embarrassed that you went down after being shot?
Well, you weren't exactly sure what the hell was happening at first,
Yeah. But also, you came back up with the fist raise. That's one of the hardest pictures.
But I was also,
Did you hear them say he's down, or were you just
so when I got hit, I assume that it's funny.
Is it?
When I was down there, it is sort of strange. I guess now it's a little bit, we can smile a little bit, but not really, because the 3 guys, 1 killed, two very badly.
Yeah.
But when I went down, I had total realization. It wasn't a surreal. They talked about a surreal. That could be a surreal experience. Like when something happens, some traumatic thing happens, people they lose focus. They have no idea where they are. I've heard many people where that happens. Something really terrible happens that. It was just the opposite. I knew exactly what had happened. I got shot in the ear, and Secret Service thought I may have been shot. Actually, they were pretty sure that I was shot all over because there was a lot of blood. Just a little fact, if you get shot in the ear, it's the bloodiest place. It bleeds more than anything else.
Oh, wow.
Now, it's good to be shot this way, not that way. That way, that's bad. So if I don't turn, I would be doing this right now, guaranteed.
Guys, I got some stand-up shows coming up for the Life Tour. These are the remaining shows of the Life Tour.
Cakes, hot
Scratch. Okay, if you
talk some sports, if you missed that, come see me. Fan basis. Let's get back to the show.
My son Don told me, actually, he's a great shooter. So is Eric. They're great shooters. They're like better than Scratch. Okay, if you use
yeah.
And they say it's amazing because it was 130 yards. To me, that sounds like far away, but it's not. For shooting, it's not. He said that would be like sinking a 1-foot putt for just a decent shooter.
Wow.
And I don't know if you guys are shooters, but they said if you're a shooter, it's almost impossible to miss. It's that close. It's really considered that close. I mean, 300, 400, 500 yards is very doable, but this is supposed to be very close. And so he said, I think Don became more religious, actually, you want to know the truth. It had a big impact. He said, it's impossible. The doctor, actually, when I got to the hospital, they were fantastic, Butler Hospital. I get there, and the doctor greeted me, and he looked at me and looked it over. He said, you are the luckiest man I've ever met.
Wow.
He said, you should immediately go out and buy a lotto ticket. Can you imagine? He's telling me to buy a lotto ticket. There's blood all over the place.
Yeah.
And he said, I've been doing this for 25 years. He said, I've never seen a thing like this.
Wow.
Because it's just whacked it. But it was something that was, relatively not so bad compared to what could have happened. So I feel very lucky. It was an amazing experience, a horrible experience in most ways. In some ways, it was beautiful because I was somehow, I hopefully Corey's protected too, who's the firefighter, and he's in a good place, maybe a better place than we're in here, because this world is a little bit on the tough side. But it was an amazing experience.
Do you feel like
we got a voter
in your spirituality after something like
Well, maybe, especially when I'm hearing from people that do shoot and are good at it, that it was almost impossible to miss from, like a 1-foot putt.
You start to
very
believe.
hard. You got to miss it. That's a bad putt, right?
Yeah.
He equated it to a 1-foot putt. When they say that, I say, wow, that's so, you're saying, they said a bad shooter would hit you from that distance 100% of the time.
Wow.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And here I am. We're doing this wonderful interview with 4 geniuses that are hot as pistols, right? Good hair on this guy.
Likewise, sir.
Pretty good stuff you got. So anyway, but here we are.
Who do you think tried to take you out?
So I'm going to give you some big breaking news, right?
Love that.
Because I know the kind of show and it's entertainment, but it's also very serious. I mean, I get the whole picture. And you know what? If it was just funny stuff, you wouldn't have the success you've got, to be honest with you, right?
Yeah.
It's nice to intersperse it, but I'll give you something. So first of all, I have great respect for the Secret Service. And the guys that were with me, I went down and I did a good job going down because those bullets were winging over my head. If I would have been up for another couple of seconds, I also wouldn't have been here. But I didn't consider that as lucky as turning to the right at that one. It was like 1/16 of a second.
Yeah.
Was the only time that I was
Yeah.
safe, essentially.
Right.
If I would have gone a little further, I would have been hit. If I would have gone not
Make
as
sure you like the
far,
live,
I would have
guys.
been hit. I mean, I had like this little tiny moment. And the amazing thing is the sign is always on my left and it's always at the end. And I only use it 20% of the time, maybe even less than that.
And
This was
time
a
it's on the
chart.
right.
This was a chart on immigration
Yeah.
because I have the record. I did a great job in immigration. They are not doing too well right now.
Stay on the breaking news. Stay on the breaking news.
So here's the breaking. So you have this shooter and you have another shooter, right?
Yeah.
So this shooter had 3 or so cell phones.
Mm.
The FBI's never gotten them opened.
Wow.
The other shooter, 3 apps, they call them. And I believe they were foreign-based apps, from what I understand.
Oh, wow.
They haven't opened them, and they're foreign-based. And, you hear all about Iran, because I was rough with Iran, but I want to see Iran do great. I want to see Iran do great.
Yeah.
But I want to stop all the killing and all this. And I was rough on Iran, and they supposedly have a hit on me. In fact, I think it takes great courage for you people to be interviewing me, because it could be now,
Yeah.
They
Well,
could
we
be
didn't know
right
that
now.
before we got in here.
No, if
before.
you would have known that, you might not have done this.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, this is a good way of me getting the interview to be shorter. All of a sudden, he's going to say, okay, that's it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Go
It's
see
been
my
great.
daughter.
Anyway, they have 3 apps, and foreign-based, 2 of them, maybe 3 of them are foreign-based. They haven't
Wow.
opened them yet. Why wouldn't you open them when you hear about Iran or when you hear about, foreign? Then the other one had 6 cell phones, and they haven't opened. Now, it's very hard to open a cell phone. Only Apple can do it in theory, unless you have somebody. But they had no problem getting the J6 people's cell phones open. They opened their cell phones very quickly. We have 2 countries in a way. What's happening here is very bad. It's very dangerous. We almost had one, because I had the greatest economy in the history of our country, and people were coming together. We almost had one, but we really do have 2 right now, and it's a shame, because I think we'll get them together. Success will bring us together, but they should get those phones opened. And, when there's an assassination attempt on a former president who's now, I'm proud to say, leading in all the polls against the Democrat, I don't know which one is running. You don't know what the hell's going on. I'm the only one that had to run against 2. I run against 2 Democrats, but this is a first. We create a lot of firsts. Usually you run against somebody. Here I had the debate. I was way up on him.
Yeah.
And then they say, let's put this is like with Dana White, a fighter. So you're fighting, and the one guy's getting killed. And they say, that's okay. Let's put in another fighter to finish it off. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're fighting. You say, hey, wait a minute. I have a brand new fighter in here.
WWE.
I spent $150 million on beating Biden. And then all of a sudden I hear that they're going to overthrow him. It was a coup. I mean, it really was. But I would like them to open up these apps and find out what's in there. And so he had six cell phones. Who has 6 cell phones?
Mhm.
Having 6 cell phones is weird. I have cell phones. If I ever have 2, it's like a lot.
Yeah.
He had 6 cell phones. Why does he have them? And why haven't they opened up those cell phones?
So if you had to
and
guess,
it's different. If you're a drug dealer, I think it's terrible in many ways, but I guess from another standpoint, Apple, the primary group, people buy those phones because they will never open them for any reason. But they got them open on J6. They opened up their phones, but they don't open. And this is big stuff. This is an assassination attempt, and it could involve other countries.
There was that San Bernardino shooter that they hacked. The FBI was able to hack into the phone. Apple didn't give it up, but they were able
There
to
are
hack in.
some people in the world, very few, that have an ability to sometimes be able to hack in.
Got it.
Very rarely, actually.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing when you think that with all the genius, you almost can't do it. But Apple has a key, and the key is open. I mean, they can do it immediately.
Yeah.
But they don't do it, and they don't do it. And that's one of the reasons that, like, I hate to say it, drug lords feel very confident that they'll never be exposed. And they use their cell phones, their Apple phones, and maybe it's that way with other companies. I don't know. They have Samsung, they have other companies. But it's very hard. Apple's very strong on that. But when it comes to the assassination of a president, leading candidate, former president, all that, I think the rules have to go out and they have to open those things and they have to find out. And
in terms of national security,
some people would say you have to either punish Apple or you have to get somebody that can do it. But in terms of national security, so the one guy has 6 phones, lots of messages to people. Who are those people he's calling when he's hiding behind a bush?
So if you had to guess, I'm sure obviously you've thought about this a lot. It's an assassination attempt. If you had to guess, who do you think is responsible?
These are great questions. What the hell? I don't get these questions from the fake news.
Yeah. Rosie O'Donnell's been asking
like
this.
Deface the Nation. They have the woman on Brennan. She's on Deface the Nation. She was terrible with the way she handled J.D. Vance, who did a great job the other night.
He did do a great job.
But I don't get questions like that. Did you ever hear of the show? Deface, ladies and gentlemen, it's Donald Trump on Deface the Nation. It's called Face the Nation. They hate me.
No,
they spend millions of dollars.
They would name a show that?
Oh, I see. You didn't hear of it. That's good. They spend millions of dollars on the name CBS.
Yeah.
And then I come along and I say it's Face the Nation.
Yeah.
Or Meet the Fake Press.
Yeah.
Meet the press.
You're good at this.
I say Meet the Fake Press.
Yeah.
And they spend all this money, and then I say it once, and it goes to millions of people.
Yeah.
But no, they are fake. But some of these questions are much better.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm honored.
Much better.
You still haven't answered though.
That was the best dodge of the question.
That's your second best dodge in your life.
You almost charmed us out of
I'm
it.
trying to get out of it.
All right, fair enough.
Well, look, if you look at assassinations or attempts, first of all, you realize I'm in a very dangerous business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because 1/10, think of this, 1/10 of 1% of auto races die.
Yep.
Bull riders, I think that's pretty dangerous, right?
Yeah.
I don't know much about it, but I think I wouldn't want to be on one of those suckers.
No.
Yeah.
I see them flying off and the hoof is like an inch from the eye. And when it hits the eye, you're gone,
Game
right?
over. Yeah.
And they are well, it's about the same. 1/10 of 1%.
Yeah.
And other things, it's never much more than that. That's sort of maxed out, I think.
Yeah.
Race car drivers, bull riders, I think that's pretty much tough.
Yeah.
UFC fighters, it's none.
Mhm.
I don't think anyone's ever actually.
Not in UFC, in MMA or boxing.
Maybe.
Unfortunately,
It
there
must
was
be.
those tragic events. Yeah.
Amazingly, boxers die a lot. But UFC, Dana tells me it's a safe sport. I say, to me, it's much rougher. But, it's pretty amazing. They've never, in UFC, they've never lost. And they run a great operation. Nobody's died. But with presidents, it's like a substantial percentage.
Way higher than we
When
realized.
you look at Lincoln and Kennedy and this and that. I mean,
attempts,
you go
Reagan.
through McKinley.
Yep. Garfield.
You look at a lot of people. I'm in
Yeah.
a very dangerous
Business.
profession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I call it a profession.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm in
I
a
like
dangerous profession.
I like that.
I'm sitting with you guys. You have a very nice, safe life. Me?
Yeah.
So no, if you said 5%.
I think he called us soft.
No,
Yeah,
but think
I'm fine
of
with
it. Yeah, but think of it, 5%.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's
Yeah,
high.
That's a lot.
I
And
think even the attempts is something like
Attempts?
25%.
Yeah.
Of
attempts
presidents have had
is getting
attempt.
into really
It's crazy.
numbers. So people don't think of that. You run and you see, and then you win, and you're down Pennsylvania. You're looking at everything. So you're in a
That's the danger
dangerous
starts.
profession.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things. I was saying before, though, that, I do a thing called a weave.
Yeah.
And there are those that are fair that say, this guy is so genius. And then others would say, oh, he rambled. I don't ramble. If I start a story, what you do is you weave things and you do it. You have to have certain things. You need an extraordinary memory because you have to come back to where you started.
Yes.
A weave is only good
They
if
don't
you
give you
come
credit
back.
for that.
Yeah, it's true.
You could go all the way over here and then
I
get
can
back.
go so far here or there, and I can come back to exactly where I started. Now, someday when you don't come back to where you started,
You're Biden.
then you say, no, but weave is the way. When you're telling like a story, I was telling a story at a rally the other day in front of thousands of people, and I started off, and then
You were weaving them up.
something in the story,
Yeah.
I actually mentioned Air Force One. It was Air Force One was there. So I mentioned Air Force One, and then I said how I got $1.6 billion off the price of Air Force One. So, but then you have to come back to the story. Where was Air Force One taking you?
As
So
always.
anyway, I do a weave. I call it the weave. And some people think it's so genius, but the bad people, what they say is, he was rambling.
Yeah.
It's not a ramble. There's no rambling.
This is a
with it.
weave.
This is a weave.
weave,
I call it the weave.
Weave.
Good name. I'm not sure. That's another name. We had fake news.
Yeah,
We came up
yeah.
with lots of names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but the weave is. I think we should make the weave a part of that stable.
Yeah, you really weaved away to answering my question twice.
That's brilliant.
So
I don't even want to know the answer
Yeah.
anymore.
I lost interest.
We'll weave back. Let's weave back to his question.
Okay.
Because this is where it started. So we'll weave back to his question. I sort of hate answering it because I don't want to give any false identities. I don't want to do anything having to do with creating something that isn't there. You would look at Iran. Iran has an open threat out for me, and that's bad. And Biden, if he were a real president, if he were the kind of guy he should be, should say, if anybody shoots a former president who's now the leading candidate, even though he's leading against Democrats, we will bomb that country into oblivion. And it would stop. And that's been said before with some people. You know, there have been people, I won't go into it, but there have been people that have been threatened in another party even. In the same party, it makes sense and probably happens pretty quickly. But in another party, you know, it's hard for them to
cross the line.
To want to protect me. But it shouldn't be hard. Other people have protected other people. And what you have to inform those people is if they do it, the country will be blown to smithereens. The entire country will be blown to smithereens. And those threats go away because that's a really bad threat for a country. Forget about me. I'm an individual, but I represent something very important. That's a really terrible threat. So, I mean, there are others that could be in that category. Look, I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China at a level that no president took in anything. I had tariffs on China, took in hundreds of billions of dollars. They're still there. That without me, they wouldn't have those tariffs on. So you could say, but no, I think Iran would be the one.
All right, guys, let's take a break for a second because we got to shout out the greatest law firm in America, Morgan & Morgan, America's largest personal injury law firm. For over 35 years, they've been fighting and winning for the people just like you and me. They've won so much that they've racked up more than $20 billion in recoveries for their clients. That's right, billion with a B. So when life tries to slam you with an injury, it might be time to tap in to Morgan & Morgan. And because they've got your back, I'm excited to announce that they're offering one lucky listener $2,000 and 2 tickets to WWE's Royal Rumble. Now, entering to win is easy. Let me tell you, all you have to do right now is text Flagrant to For the People and follow the text prompts. Good luck. Maybe we'll see you there at WrestleMania. Now let's get back to the show.
All right, guys, I'm going to do this ad read again because Miles really doesn't want me to, and I want to add to his workload. You got to know about Cook Unity, man. It's a meal delivery service where meals are actually prepared by award-winning professional chefs. Every meal is prepared in small batches to ensure the highest level of quality in culinary craft. How do I know this? I don't know. Maybe there's a little collaboration coming. Front to back. There are hundreds of weekly menu items you can choose from, dozens of global cuisines, and they got an app that offers a seamless experience to make ordering and planning as easy, pain-free as possible. This is the only meal delivery service that offers you cooking without compromise. You don't got to cook. Professional chefs do the cooking, but you get top-tier quality, variety, convenience, and it's as little as $6 per meal. And if you visit cookunity.com, for Flagrant listeners, you get 50% off your first order and 10% off your next 3 weeks. All you got to do is sign up at cookunity.com/flagrant. Guys, that's all you got to do, cookunity.com/flagrant. And again, keep an eye out. Your boy might have a little something cooking. Let's get back to the show.
I was tough with other countries, but I got along very well with them. But, you know, we were like a pussycat. We were ripped off by every nation in the world. And some of the worst grippers were our so-called allies, people that... countries that we supposedly get along with, but they're the ones that took advantage of us on trade at a level like, you know, I mean, I ended some of the dumbest trade deals I've ever seen and made them much better for the country. I mean, what difference does it make? I took a terrible trade deal, would make it a good trade deal. But like Japan, I redid the trade deal. South Korea, I did the trade deal. The deals. I went to Abe of Japan. I said, Shinzo, he was assassinated. He was as you probably know, he's incredible, great man. He was a great leader for the people. They loved him. I said, Shinzo, look, we can't do this. The trade deal is so bad. We're friends, but I have to renegotiate the trade deal. And he said to me, I knew that would happen. I said, why did you know? Because you're right. It's so one-sided.
Wow.
It's like he said, I knew you'd catch us. But they went through many presidents where Japan was, as an example, they'll send us millions of cars. We're not allowed to send them any. They send us their farm product. We were sending them practically nothing. It was like a one-way. Everything was one way. And by the way, virtually China was the worst, but there were many countries almost as bad. The European Union was almost as bad, in my opinion. You know, it sounds nice. Oh, the European Union is so nice. They were ruthless in their trading. And I said to Angela Merkel, how many Chevrolets do we have in the middle of Berlin? Why? I don't believe any. I said, you're right. And yet we take in all of that. We take in Mercedes-Benz and BMW, and we take in all of this Volkswagen. We're taking in all of these millions and millions of cars. I say, how many American cars are in the middle of Munich or Berlin? And the answer is none. And I had things change around. So, you could say, I think that the answer would be, at this moment, Iran. And I think they could catch him. And if we had a real president, which we don't have a real president. We have a man that is grossly inept. And it's very dangerous because these guys are all at the top of their game. When you talk about President Xi and you talk about any one of the leaders in the world, Macron, and he's a smart guy. He's all for France. I mean, he would take the shirt off your back if you didn't know what you were doing.
So when you're with these guys, are these guys all sharks?
Yeah.
And you can sense the energy immediately?
Yeah, not all of them, but some of them aren't sharks in terms.
How are you assessing personality?
Okay, well, I can tell you, like,
Great.
Modi,
Yeah.
India.
Yeah.
He's a friend of mine. He's great. He's the nicest.
India. This is for you.
Oh, good. Well, I'll tell you. Do you like him or not?
Yeah.
Do you like him?
I have family on both sides of it.
Okay,
I have
well,
family
let me
that loves everything and family
I'll just
that's
tell
not.
you, though. You need him. I know. Well, they had, before him, they were replacing him every year. It was very unstable. He came along.
He's in a lot.
He's great. He's a friend of mine. But on the outside, he looks like he's your father. He's the nicest, total killer. Because I asked him,
Yeah.
we're talking, they did a thing called Howdy Modi in Houston, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
And they filled up the stadium. It was me and him. We filled up the stadium. It was beautiful. Like 80,000 people. Was going crazy. And we're walking around today. Maybe I wouldn't be as, maybe you wouldn't do that. But we're walking in the middle, waving to everybody. Anyway, but we have a very good relationship. He's the nicest human being. But we had a couple of occasions where somebody was threatening India. I said, let me help. I'm very good with those people. Let me help. I will do it. I will do it. And I will do anything necessary. We've defeated them for hundreds of years.
Wow.
He was talking about a certain country. Okay?
Yeah.
You can probably guess the country.
Yeah.
Can't fathom which.
You know the country.
Yeah.
But I said, whoa, what happened there? What happened? So, no, they're all tough. They're all smart. And some are very good people. He's a good person. There's some are good people and some aren't good people. But they're all at the top of their game. And we have her, who is now more important than him, I guess, although he's still president of this country. And we're talking about nuclear war. And he's not capable. He doesn't even know what it is. He said yesterday when they talked about should they hit Iran's nuclear, no, you shouldn't do that. I said, no, it's sort of just the opposite. Because the nuclear is the biggest threat we have in the world today. It's not global warming where the oceans are rising 1/8 of an inch in the next 500 years.
Right.
The threat that we have, the biggest threat is nuclear war.
Yeah.
You seem concerned about that.
I am because it only takes one. I am.
Very true.
There are 5 countries now that have capability, and soon they'll have more. And we shouldn't let there be more. And I was at a point very good, despite the Russia hoax. It was a total hoax, and we were totally exonerated and everything else. I could have told them that the first day, but that causes a lot of problems. A lot of problems, and they're a big nuclear power. We were close to a deal for getting rid of nuclear weapons. It would be so good
for all countries or just Russia.
We were talking about Russia, ourselves, and China.
Oh wow!
And we would then bring everyone else into it. And
So you all
strongly.
you all would get rid of your nuclear capabilities.
Denuclearize, yes. We were going to get rid
Totally
of
denuclearized.
nuclear because it's too powerful.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah.
You know, my uncle, Dr. John Trump, was
Country doctor.
Yeah, Dr. John Trump. Well, he was a nuclear doctor, actually. He was at MIT. He's the longest serving professor at MIT. He passed away, great guy. He was a brilliant guy, a brilliant scientist. And he used to tell me, he said, a long time ago, he'd say, Donald, someday it's very dangerous. Somebody will be able to carry a small briefcase into a building in New York and blow up the entire city.
Oh, wow.
I said, you got to be kidding me, Uncle John. That will never happen. He was like a really brilliant guy. He was there for, I think, 41 years. He's the longest serving professor in the history of MIT.
Oh, wow.
So when I understand physics and when I understand things well, they say, how come there's good genetics? You know, I'm a believer. Are you guys believers in that? Were your parents funny? Were they comedians?
Yeah, my mom's side was is Scottish. And,
Fellow Scottish, yeah.
Oh.
Scottish women tend to be
You know,
pretty-
my mom.
Yeah.
I was going to ask
Scottish.
you about that. Yeah.
And she was great.
Which is that where you get your humor
Yeah,
from?
well, I'll tell you what. England at the time, they fought them for 1,000 years trying to get them undertow. They didn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
They're very tough. That reminds me of my mother, come to think of it.
Yeah.
Now, my mother was great. She was Stornoway.
Yeah.
The Hebrides, right? That's really serious Scottish.
Yeah.
But she was great. But it is true when you see Braveheart, that was one of many times, for hundreds
Did you
of
watch
years.
that with your mom by any chance?
No, I didn't. I didn't get to. I'll tell you, I saw Braveheart. I think Mel Gibson is a very good guy. I've met him a number of times, good guy. But I'll tell you, that was super Mel Gibson in his prime.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I was on a plane, and there was absolutely nothing to do. It was one of these planes that you couldn't make calls, you couldn't do, and they had tapes.
That's all planes for us.
And they showed me they showed me, sir, we have 20 tapes. And I looked at the tapes and they were all, and this was like 20 years after it was made. This was probably 6 years ago.
Okay.
I never saw Braveheart.
Okay.
And they showed me a tape. I say, all right, let's put that one on. And within about 4 minutes, I said, this may be the greatest movie I've ever seen.
It's incredible.
Within 4 minutes.
No, I'm not a Braveheart fan, but you've seen it.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
I saw it with my mom.
I
She
mean,
was
how good?
emotional for like a week.
I wish I saw it with my
Yeah.
mother, but it was good.
Was that your Braveheart moment? Like after getting shot when you stood up?
No.
Freedom.
No, never
You
take
don't
my
think
freedom.
of that in those moments. You do what you do.
Yeah, thank
You know-
God you weren't thinking about Mel Gibson.
Nah, but he's good. But he was when he in prime time, he was great.
Unbelievable.
I mean, at
What a
that,
run.
his look, his way, you couldn't have had a better guy playing it. But that was a great movie. So, but it is true, England, and
Scotland fought
at
for
the
years.
time, for 1,000 years.
Yeah,
I mean, they'd have the battles with thousands or once a thousand, and they run at each other.
Yeah.
Tell me that.
I
You
mean,
think
the-
you think that takes guts? They run at each other,
I think so.
knowing they're going to pretty much die, right?
the Roman army built walls to keep out the Scottish when they were up in England.
Yeah. They were
Yeah.
afraid of the Scottish. Yeah.
They were afraid.
The Scottish people, they're tough people. They're good people. Actually, they're very great people, but they're good fighters.
But your mom was funny.
She was funny, yes.
That's what I hear.
She
I hear
she
she was.
had a great sense of humor. And my father loved my mother. They were married for...
Polar
Yeah.
opposites, though?
Yeah, my father was German,
Serious.
serious, but good. He was a tough guy, but he had a good heart. When he walked down the street, and they would say we could walk down the street, he would always give something to... If there was somebody that had problems, they used to have the can and a pencil, the can out. My father would always put $100 in that thing.
wow.
He'd always do it. Now, he had a tremendous heart, but he was a tough guy. He was tough. He was just like no nonsense.
Mhm.
It was firm. My mother was a woman, and I don't know how your mother felt, but she loved the Queen. Don't forget, the Queen was, the Queen was great. Oh, would she have liked, because the Queen honored me before she died.
Really?
She honored me as the president in Buckingham Palace. And there's nobody that does it like the English. There's nobody that has that, the pomp and ceremony. But my mother would love that. Your mother, so Did she feel strongly about like the royalty?
I think they're obsessed with the royal family out there, like in general.
Your mother would have been.
She was really into all the pageantry for sure.
My mother was.
Yeah.
My mother thought the Queen was great.
Yeah.
She thought the Queen was so wonderful.
Some of my family hates the English, though.
I know.
There's some history there.
I know. But a lot of it's a hard breakup. They tried to break up Scotland from the rest of the empire, so to speak,
because they got some oil,
and it made it by about like a half a point.
Yeah,
they kept it together. So I hope it stays together. I hope it always stays together. But England, as they say, because it used to be England, but England never could. And they were bigger.
Yeah,
and they had more people.
Yeah,
they could never finish it off by capturing Scotland. So it's really sort of.
They ended up having to marry together.
They married.
Yeah,
they became sort of subsidiaries, right?
I guess. Yeah,
but it was great. That's interesting with your mother,
guys. That little chunk of this scintillating conversation with President Trump has been brought to you by the great company Steak, partnered with us here on Flagrant. Steak is it's where you're going to do your gambling. It's where you're going to go do your gambling.
You can even gamble on the election. Who you think
you can do that. You can, to which we would not try to influence in any way, shape, or form. Okay. So you make those judgments on your own, but you can also gamble on sports. You can gamble on lots of different things. You can do it over there with Steak. And when you use our promo code Flagrant, you are going to get your sign-up bonus when you do that. So you can go do that right now. We appreciate you tapping in, locking in, and when you do your gamble, you're doing it with our partner Steak. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the show. Okay, so the humor comes from there, maybe some other things, because I think that's one thing that there's bipartisan support for you. Is even the people that are like, I don't like that guy, will go, hey, he says the funny things. Have you heard this before about it?
Yeah, I've heard it.
It's very disarming humor.
Yeah, but in my business, in what I do, if you don't have humor, you won't even survive.
Wait, why is that?
Because I think you have to have a light side. I see a lot of dark things. I see horrible things. I see things that are bad. I see political things that are hard. I mean, we have a lot of corrupt people in this country, and I see it. And horrible corrupt people. We have people that, I really do. We have, from the inside, we have really bad people, and outside we do, but I think the outside is better. I think it's easier to handle China. If you have a smart president who knows, some things, if you had who knows how to deal, let's say, you're not going to have a problem with Russia. Russia would have never attacked Ukraine if I were president. I used to talk to Putin about it. I got along great with him. They would have never, ever done it. I ended his pipeline, I ended the pipeline called Nord Stream 2. Nobody ever heard of Nord Stream 2.
Yeah.
I said, are you building a pipeline going to Europe? Yeah. I said, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I told, I got them together. I said, you mean we're defending you from Russia and you're paying them billions of dollars a month for oil? It's not going to work that way. And I ended it. And then when Biden came in, he gave it back. The biggest project they ever had, right? He gave it back. And then everyone said, Trump is friends with Putin. And so Putin would say, if you're my friend, I'd hate like hell to see you as my enemy. Think of it. And I put a lot of sanctions on. But I got along with Russia. I got along with pretty much everybody. Actually, the tougher they were, the better I did with them. That's a good thing, not a bad thing, because the other ones are easier to handle. But the ones that I got along with, and they're also the bigger threats. I got along very well with President Xi of China. But when COVID came, I was not happy with him because it came out of the labs. I mean, they released it from accidentally, I believe. A lot of people would say it wasn't an accident, but they got hit very hard. They got hit as hard as anybody in the world. It was late. It was belated. It was a late hit.
Yeah.
But when COVID came, I made an unbelievable trade deal with China. They have to buy $50 billion of our product every year. It was nobody could believe I got that deal done. I don't even talk about it because of COVID. I don't even talk about it. That deal is unbelievable. And what's happened now, our farmers have been hit because Biden hasn't pressed them to honor the deal. I used to, every day I'd get up, how much did China buy today? Sir, but I'd call them up. I'd say, you're behind. You have to buy 50 billion. Do you think Biden does that? Biden's sleeping. But over the last week, I have what we talk about funny or sad. I think it's more sad than funny.
Yeah.
He has one ability I don't have.
Yeah.
He sleeps. He can sleep. This guy goes on a beach and he lays down on one of those, 6 ounce. They weigh 6 ounces and you can't lift it.
Yeah.
They're meant. No, they're meant for children.
Yeah.
Young people
Yeah.
and old people to lift. They're aluminum, hollowed aluminum.
Yeah.
They weigh very little, and he can't lift. And somebody convinced him he looks good in a bathing suit. And when you're 82, typically bathing suits aren't going to make you look great. But you're not going to be enhanced.
Yeah.
All right. It's just one of those things. I can't be sure about that, but typically you
depends what he's packing. He could.
I don't know what the hell he's packing, but I don't want to, and I don't want to know either. I don't know, but he has an ability to fall asleep while on camera. He can lie down on one of those things, and in minutes he's stone cold out.
How does he do it?
And he's got cameras because he's the president, so they have cameras on him.
Yeah.
And then they show him sleeping on the beach.
Yeah.
You'll never see me sleeping in front of camera.
How do we get you better at that? Like, what can we do? How do we work on that as a country?
As a country?
Yeah.
We got to save our country. Look, we are a nation in decline, whether you like it or not.
I hate hearing that.
I know. I hate
that
it.
hurts me. That hurts me. As a proud American,
well, what you like though is, but we're going to be greater than ever before.
So that's, I think, the messaging that I think.
Yeah.
I think that's really nice to hear.
Well, that's my ultimate message. But you can't avoid the fact that we've allowed 21 million people into our country in the last 3.5 years. And I don't know your persuasion. I don't know if you guys are liberal or what, but nobody can be happy with 21 million people openly walking into a place we don't know. And it was released last week that 13,000 of those people are murderers. 13,099. 13,000 of those people are in prison. They're incarcerated for murder, and they let them out.
I think you have support on this, though. I think everybody,
tremendous support,
regardless.
I think I'll let you know. I'll let you know on November 6th if I have support.
But
the
I
day
don't
after
think,
the election,
I don't
November
think there's
5th, the most important day.
Yeah,
no,
I think people are agreeing they want a strong border. And I think I don't think that's an issue that's like tearing the country apart. But I do think that there is something
there are some people that want to open, and they're either.
But they're like politicians that are getting some sort of reinforcement through this. The average American, I don't think is going, we need an open board.
I think only a person that hates our country actually